ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰነበታችሁ እንግዲህ ያለፈው ሳምንት ይዘንላችሁ እንደቀረብነው ዛሬም ደግሞ Empower the Community Weekend ላይ ቀርቦ ከነበሩት ፓነል ዲስከሽኖች አንደኛውን ይዘንላችሁ ነው የምንቀርበው የዛሬው ዝግጅት Business and Leadership የሚለው ፓነል ላይ ነው እዚህ ፓነል ላይ ሁለት እንግዶች ጋብዘን ነበረ ወይዘሮ አስቴር አንጋጋው የኢንዲፔንደንት ዳይሬክተር ናት ኦነር ኤንድ ማይነር የሚባል ድርጅት ውስጥ አቶ መስፍን ታያኑ ደግሞ አሬክስ ፓራዳይም የሚባል ድርጅት ሲኢኦ ነው እነዚህ እንግዶቻችን ለብዙ አመታት በተለያዩ ድርጅቶች ውስጥ as senior executive በሲኢኦ ሌቭል የሰሩ ናቸው ከነሱ ብዙ እንማራለን ብለን ያሰብነው ያነሳናቸው ሐሳቦች አሉ በዛ ላይ ዲስከሽን እናደርጋለን ማለት ነው ያለፈው ሳምንት እንደተጠቀስኩላችሁ እነዚህ ዝግጅቶች በሙሉ በእንግሊዝኛ ነው የሚካሄዱት ከወዲሁ ይቅርታ ጠይቃለሁ እንግዲህ እዚህ ሀገር ላሉ ኢትዮጵያኖችና ኤርትራን አሜሪካንስ የተዘጋጀ ፕሮግራም ነው ግን ለሁላችንም ይጠቅማል ብለን ስለምናምንበት ነው እስቲ ደግሞ ወደ ፕሮግራሙ ልሰዳችሁ Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
From Philadelphia.
Yes.
I'm thrilled to have you here. As I mentioned, this is an important conversation for us to have because I know many of us Ethiopian Americans are in many various different industries, in the corporate space, in the service industry. A lot of us own businesses, whether it's real estate, restaurants, you name it. But here in the U.S., there's a corporate structure. Many of us, especially our children and a lot of young people, aspire to go to the corporate space in various industries. They want to grow. They want to be at a leadership level at a certain time in their careers. And sometimes as immigrants, we really don't have the support system, the mentorship, the opportunity, the resources to back us up, to show us, ways, you don't have your brother is not working in this company, your uncle doesn't own that company, there aren't really that strong support system that we have to help us to show us the way. So it's really important, one of the reasons why we have this event like this is so for people to network. If you're in one industry, I'm in another industry, I can network with you and hopefully we'll support each other and grow. So with that's why I'm really excited to have both of you here. I'm going to read a little bit about your bio before we get started. Aster, I'm going to begin with you. You currently serve as an independent director and a member of a governance and nominating committee at Owens and Minor. A leading healthcare solutions company that incorporates product manufacturing, distribution, support, and innovative technology service to deliver value across industry. Prior to this role, you have served as president of Service Master Brands, where you led an expansive division of a $2.6 billion system-wide sales from franchise business from AmeriSpec, Furniture Medic, Mary Maid, Service Master Clean, and Service Master Restore brands. You recently joined PavMed subsidiary, Lucid Diagnostics, board members. Congratulations on that. You've Aster earned an executive MBA from Temple University and a BA in organizational management from Eastern University. She is also a graduate of advanced management program at Harvard Business School, Harvard. Aster is a member of advisory board of the Women Business Collaborative and is a member of Executive Leadership Council and served on a council's Community Impact Initiative and Membership Committee. She has received numerous honors and has been named multiple times to Black Enterprise Magazine list of most influential Black executives in corporate America and most powerful women in business, as well as Savoy Magazine's list of top influential women in corporate America. She also received the Diversity Leadership Council Leadership Excellence Award in 2020. Aster was awarded Distinguished 400 Award from 400 Years of African American History Commission. That's impressive. Oh, too many clips. Mesfin Taganu is a national, did I say it right? How did I say your last name?
Yeah,
I did? Okay.
Taganu is right.
She is a nationally recognized thought leader in pharmacy benefit management, an early pioneer of BPM industry who had previously built one of the country's leading BPM organizations, transforming it from near startup to an industry leader. Over 25-year career, Mesfin has negotiated several $1 billion in rebates with major drug manufacturers. He started his career as clinical pharmacist pharmacist. Mesfin's focus has always been on developing innovative approaches that improve patient outcomes while reducing total cost care. This vision often placed him at odds as industry became less transparent and less patient-centric. These challenges led him to found Arrest Paradigm, Inc., a new entrant into the market to facilitate a paradigm shift in the BPM marketplace, which aims to distribute industry by employing a never-before available level of transparency into drugs pricing and reimbursement. Boy, do we need that, right? Mesfin is actively involved in the community, currently serving as a board member of EPPAD and founder and executive chairman of American Ethiopian Public Affairs Committee. He is also a regular speaker who is frequently cited by leading trade journals for his perspective on drug access, pricing, management. Mesfin immigrated from Ethiopia before earning a master's degree from St. John University in Queens, New York. He holds a bachelor's degree in pharmacy from Addis Ababa University. Welcome. Important work that you're doing. Listen, healthcare is definitely a huge industry, so I'm glad to hear you bring all that perspective and experience. Our participant obviously have listened to your background and understand where you come from, but just so we know a little bit about your personal, how I'm sure it took. It wasn't an easy journey for you to be where you are, to be this influential. Just tell us a little bit about yourself outside of what we just read on your bio.
Yeah, so I came to the U.S. at the end of 1982.
Okay.
I went to a small college, in Mount Ida College in Newton, Massachusetts. I started studying biochemistry.
Okay.
I thought I would go to medical school or just work in science. And after being there for a while, I realized that was not my passion, and I was a bit unmoored. So I decided to leave and find my way. So I started waiting on tables, bartending, and then I started managing a restaurant. And business found me, and I found my passion in business. And then when I always knew I would go back to school, when I met my husband and moved to Philadelphia, I went back to school and studied organizational management at Eastern University. And while working full-time, so I was working with a cruise line at the time. And then I was recruited by another company out of there. And then Sodexo bought that company. And then my journey with Sodexo started. So I was with Sodexo and the acquired company for about 23 years. It is a global Fortune 500 large organization. I was very fortunate, got a lot of opportunities for growth. One thing led to another, and I ended up taking on a CEO role at Sodexo, a division of Sodexo healthcare segment. And then I wanted to taste the waters again, left Sodexo, went to Harvard, did the AMP, and then went to work for ServiceMaster. So my life has been a series of fortunate encounters. So that's why I'm here.
So it's like luck and hard work kind of combined and got you to where you've gotten, right?
Yeah, hard work, preparation, and luck. All of it together.
All of it working together. And Mesfin, you came from Ethiopia. You were a pharmacist already.
Yes.
So how did you end up to being an entrepreneur and owning your own company?
So I graduated from pharmacy school in Ethiopia and came to the United States in 1985 for a graduate program. So I went to St. John's University to do graduate studies, and graduated from there and decided to explore the different options that the pharmacy majors can have. I don't know if anybody is here doing pharmacy or people who like to pursue that career. Once you are in that field, there are several options you have. So there are many options to do at that time. So my passion then led me to this concept of pharmacy benefit management, which really focused on close to $600 billion pharmacy expenses and how that's managed in the United States. So that's how the career path took place. Yeah, so something that you didn't read in my bio, of course.
Well, yeah, it's because it's not easy. You're a pharmacist. There are a lot of Ethiopian American pharmacists, Eritrean American pharmacists in the area, and it's not easy to transition from having that pharmacy work. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Was it accidental, or you've always thought that this is something that I needed to do?
So no, it's in the field of pharmacy, there are several things you can do. Mm-hmm. You can do a patient care pharmacist. You can do an industrial pharmacist. You can also be a managed care or a health insurance related pharmacist. And then you can be a totally pharmaceutical a manufacturing kind of pharmacy. So you have several lanes. So the lane I picked was the pharmacy benefit management lane, and I stuck to that. Now, so when you are on that lane, then the options are, so then once I choose that lane, the next thing was, how do I really make the best out of this field of pharmacy? It was what I wanted to pursue. And so focusing on that, just focusing on that particular field led me to, one after the other. So the first step is, okay, so which companies are there to hire me to be employed as a pharmacist in this space? Then the next step was, okay, now what am I going to learn from this? And do I like the way this business is going? Is there a better way to do this business? Was my whole next thinking. And then eventually I said, you know what, I now understand this business. So a few years after joining the company, I understand this business, but there are so many problems in here. So maybe I should kick off an entity that actually corrects the deficiencies of this business and then build a company. So that's how that goes.
That's kind of how it crossed.
Yeah.
So Aster, did you have a strategy? This is how my career is going to go. I mean, this is what I'm going to do now. This I'm going to do next. Or was there a strategy followed, or you just said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to continue to grow in this space that I'm in.
You would think that, right?
Yeah.
But no.
No strategy.
Especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was more curious. I am very curious. I love to solve problems. So I was chasing problems. So any interesting problem that I could solve, I was focused on that, and if I could learn, I continue doing it. But after going for my MBA and earned all the confidence that I needed, do I really know everything I needed to know? I needed to test that. Once I felt confident, I decided to be a CEO because it was easier to just shoot high and see what happens. But I was very flexible about the path. I knew the end was very clear, but when you're working in a large organization, you can't really say, here is the path and this is what I'm going to take. You kind of have to be opportunistic, but you also have to really look at people that you admire and continuously learn and watch and see what they do and then adjust accordingly. Because I don't know what I don't know to create a plan.
That's true.
So once you have a vision and you know where you want to go, then it was easier. Whenever I have an opportunity, now I can say, will it get me there or it won't? What do I need to do? What do I have to learn? So it kind of became the guiding light, really.
The roots of your history run deep. You are a vanguard of progressive change, standing on the shoulders of those who came before you. From civil rights to the social justice movements of today, you move the culture forward. You are part of the fabric that makes America, America. At New York Life, we're standing with you. We're doing our part to impact community investments that help drive change through our commitment to bridge the racial wealth gap. Your local New York Life agent can help you explore ways to establish your family's financial legacy now and for the next generation to come.
What do you think is there a misconception that we have about the corporate culture in this country? Because we grew up differently. We grew up in a culture where, especially for women, and it could be even for men, you're not encouraged to be aggressive. You are encouraged to say, work hard, let your work speak to itself. You don't have to be toot your horn every single day. Let the work speak for itself. And sometimes that could be a huge disadvantage in this country. So in order for us to advance in this space, what do we need to know? Are there some misconceptions that we have as immigrants?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the time we would think joining a very large organization is hard, or it's very hard to learn and it's very complicated and we will not be able to navigate everything that needs to be navigated. But I would say it is actually further from the truth. When it is a larger organization, Sodexo is Global 500, you have a lot more opportunity to grow, right? But you can't walk into every room saying, I'm an immigrant, I'm the only Black person here. You really can't. You have to focus on the issues that are out there, understand the business of the organization. So for people who are really looking to see what are the opportunities in the corporate environment, I would say you really need to think about, a few things. And one is you really need to know how the organization makes money and what is your job and how do you contribute to that. That is really important. The second thing is it's not what you do. It's the relationship you create. So it's not about mentoring, sponsoring, and asking people, mentor me. It's really about saying, how can I help? Who's the person I need to work for and make them successful? And then I become the talk. I become the conversation, as opposed to saying, help me out here. You're going to be on demand.
Yeah.
So I would say it's really important to think about what can I do for people so they remember me. And then they can raise my name.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
What would you add to that?
Yeah, this is very good. That's what Asir said was really to the point. I think what we all need to understand is company cultures is structured to improve the bottom line. However that culture is set, it's to make sure that the company bottom line is improved. Now, so all of us, when we join the corporate world, or when we intend to join the corporate world, the goal should be how do I make myself relevant here? Now, how do I contribute positively to this goal? And then what do I do? So one has to be. We are kind of, like you said, we are a little humble. The immigrant generation is a little humble, so we have to express a little better. We have to make sure what we have done is noticed. Don't be shy about it. It's always good to be a little ahead. It's always good to give ideas, to participate, to be known, to be recognized. And so those characteristics are something that we just have to make sure that we get it out of ourselves. And then, more importantly, we have to be productive. Every company loves a productive employee. If you are a producer, if you do well, honestly, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter the corporate culture, whatever that may be. You'll succeed. You get, focus is important. You just have to really focus. You have to network. You have to know. We can't be just staying on our small closet. We have to network, and more importantly, you have to keep relationships. You have just keep on building relationships. Don't burn bridges, and then just build it up. And it's a process, and that takes you wherever you want to go. So the immigrant population, especially the kids who are born here, who are growing up here, they are better positioned to adopt to this attitude. But for those of us who have migrated first generation, I think that the formula is the same.
Formula is the same.
I just want to add one thing. I think one thing that is totally missed about publicly held companies, the information is completely out there. So if you work for a privately held company, you may know about your department, you may know about, your boss, but you don't know about the company, how they make money, what's their strategy, what's the competitive landscape. You don't know all of these things. But in a publicly traded company, all that information is out there. So I would say maybe, a few percentage of the population in the company takes advantage of that. So if anybody here is interested in understanding how to get ahead, I would say go back and really read about the company and understand it. And it's not what you say, it's the questions you ask. Then you'll have a very informed questions, so you will be remembered. So that's really something I would say about publicly traded company. There's such a great value in that.
Because it could be overwhelming if you're one of 5,000 employees in a company with, 20,000 divisions. Who's going to remember who I am and where? And so, like you said, I think it's a matter of your productivity and then understanding the company so that you can have your own growth plan within that company based on your understanding of it, right?
And the question they ask.
And the question they ask. So success doesn't happen in a vacuum. Everybody just is not born successful. We all have failed at some way, in some form, in some capacity. What would you say is a time where you felt like, okay, gosh, this was a failure for me, and what you've learned from it? I know it's a very difficult question, but just dig and try to find that.
So I would say which failure, right? Because you fail every single day. It's really the question about how fast did you fail? And then what did you learn from it? I mean, I can go back and recount I may have joined the wrong team. I didn't research my boss. I wasn't prepared. There are so many things I could say I failed. But now what I've done is, after being in the organization for so long, is about embracing failure. It really is about saying, okay, this wasn't the best I've done. The next time, maybe I'll do it better. And I think people will remember you, how well you embrace your failure, than how you defend it. So, and if you're light about it, I think people really appreciate it, because there's nobody who's going to be perfect. So I think failure is part of the game. You just have to wear it and be with it. But I remember when first time I felt just the perception of failure used to crush me. And then I would say, okay, then I will create more problems because I was worried about the mistake I just made. And then you realize if you laugh it off, everybody will laugh it with you, and then you better learn, don't do it again, and just move on.
Yeah, instead of stressing about it until it kills you. Because I think, we worry so much about what people think, what people say, that we don't have an opportunity, like you say, to embrace our failure. Okay, I've learned something from this. And
as a woman especially, we just beat ourselves up to death before anybody else even says something is wrong. Yeah. We would be worrying about it all the time.
That's true.
But you just have to roll over and say, hey, there is another time.
There's another day.
Another day.
Any failure you remember, Mesfin? Learned from?
If you want to stay in a cubicle and don't move anywhere, you probably will not fail, because you will be doing one thing all the time. But that's not, we don't call, that's a life, but that's not a life that you want, people should aspire. People should aspire for something more. So don't worry about failing. So I mean, the failure, it's not a failure, but it could have been an explosive problem. That I put a project together, and I didn't have all the stakeholders buying into a project. So at the last minute, that could have been a disaster if I didn't catch it. But then we were able to abort a situation that could have totally been out of control. So I mean, there are situations where while you are running 120 miles an hour, you may step on certain mines and then, create problem for yourself. So, but it doesn't matter. If you don't try, then you don't accomplish. And if you don't fail, you don't get up and succeed. You don't learn. So, I have been asked in one of the youth groups that they are worried about, failing in a project or in an assignment or in an attempt to do something better. And the young generation feel that they are concerned about that part. And what I would say is, don't worry about it. Really just move on accept it the way Aster put it here, and learn from it, and then every big successful entrepreneur have all of them have failed.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a lot of vendors in here. They're all small businesses. They all are startups, some of them halfway through. And, you know, the thought of failing at something is scary because you've invested a lot into the business. You've invested a lot into the project. How do you encourage them if there are some setbacks as they're building this business?
So one is focus. Focus, okay. And then two is make sure that the goal that you have set is current, is well thought, and then while you are going in that journey, if you have to be flexible, if you have to modify, just do it. Mm-hmm. And there are times where you may have to take your loss and move on. If that's unfortunate situation was to come, you have to make a quick decision and do that and move on. So I think one has to be very persistent. One has to accept that it's going to be you are going to get to the end game with a very intelligent planning, hard work. Of course, a little luck always helps, but 95% of it is in planning, hard work, and having a solid model that you follow. So for those of you who are on startup, it's a very fulfilling journey. It can be. You'll be working 18 hours a day. That's for sure. But that's what you chose. But you just stick to it. Stick to your gun. You'll succeed, and then just make sure that you have the flexibility. You accommodate certain situations while you go through the process, and absolutely be certain that you know what you are doing.
Yeah.
You have to be absolutely clear about the purpose of your company, the goal that you have set, the journey that you are traveling. That has to be crisp clear. If you have a little confusion on those basic areas, you have to just sit down, take a back seat, and reevaluate what you are doing.
When we think about being in the corporate space, Aster, I think the biggest thing for women, especially women immigrants like me and like some of us in this room, is confidence. I think I would say, maybe the way we were brought up as women, to be, humble, keep your head down, speak low. I know my grandmother used to tell me, oh my God, you're so loud. Like, women are not supposed to be like that. She used to tell me all that. Keep your voice down, and that's to our disadvantage in the corporate environment, right? How did you overcome that? Because in order for you to be in a leadership role, you have to really be confident about yourself, about your decision-making skills, about how you manage your team and the people are around you. They have to feel confident that you know what you're doing. I think men are a little bit better at this. Even if they don't know what they're doing, they could just confidently say, I got this.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can wing it. We, on the other hand, feel like we need to be 100,000% sure that this thing knows, I know how to do this thing from A to Z before I take on. So how do we build that confidence to say, you know what? Yeah, I know this much, but I'm not the one that I'm gonna I'm gonna learn. How do we build that self-confidence? How did you build your self-confidence?
So I will start by sharing a stat.
Okay.
When men apply for a role, if they qualify 60%, they would say, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna apply for this job and I got it. Women have 100%. They still reread the role qualification 3 times to make sure they qualify.
Yeah.
No wonder we're held back, right? So to say I know this much and I have this gap and I'll feel it is not what we're trained to do. I was fortunate. I grew up, I come from a family of 10.
Okay.
I was sandwiched between 3 boys and 3 boys. So I was just in the middle. Having confidence was a survival issue, right? When you are 3 boy and 3 boys. So it was really important upbringing, fighting, and making sure your voice is heard and you earn your keep. It's okay. You can show up, say whatever you want. If you don't, they'll totally dismantle you. So it's really important. I'm sorry, my brothers, I don't want them to get the wrong idea, but they really made me stronger, right? But in coming to the corporate environment, I always thought I brought a lot of people with me. The people who do not have a chance to sit at the table, I stand up for them. All the women, all especially Black women who are not at the table, who are not represented, if you have one chance to be there, you need to show up and speak up for them. So I always think of all those people who could have had that seat, but they don't. So you need to show up for them. So I think it's really important. Whatever we think we're facing as an immigrant, I think Black people in this country face it 3 times more.
Right.
So I think we have to remember that and say, I'm an immigrant and I have all these disadvantages. That's not always true. Once you're there, you're there. So you have to deliver. So sometimes there are things that pull you back. Every time I say, oh my God, I'm the only person of color in this room. Oh my God, I'm the only immigrant, I self-sabotage, right? Because I tell my own story to myself, and then you just are debilitated. So what I say is that I'm here because I earned it, and I may not know everything, and I'm very transparent. I tell everybody I don't know everything, but I'm here to learn. And one of the things I rely on is asking really good questions. You don't always have to have the answers, but just make sure you're prepared to ask good questions. So I think the confidence comes from not feeling like you're carrying the load, right? There are many people in your team. There are many people in the room. So you don't have to fill the gap.
Yeah.
Wait, take a breath, and deliver. I think that's important.
How did you hone your negotiation skill? Because you have to be a negotiator in the role that you're in. I know I struggled a lot negotiating with my bosses for my salary for many years. I'm like, I just feel like I know I could sit there and ask whatever. I feel like I'm prepared, but then I still end up shortchanging myself for a long time. So how did you overcome that? How did you train yourself to be a great negotiator? So to be able to get to your position, you have to negotiate with a lot of people. So how did you develop that skill?
I think it's really important you're very clear about your purpose and what you're there and your values. And if you really know and you believe in what you're saying, it comes through. And when I negotiate, I'm not representing myself. I'm representing others.
That's how you see it?
Absolutely. So if I'm negotiating for a salary, I'm negotiating for all the women who are at my level or below my level. So if I take on a lower salary because I couldn't negotiate for myself, everybody else in the organization is going to suffer. So I always start out by saying, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at what women are paying. What is the pay equity? Can we look at this? So if you really start negotiating from a base of helping others, you have a better voice.
Right.
But every time you say it's about me, you look like you're someone who's really feathering your own pillow. You don't want to do that. So it's important to be able to stand up for others.
Yeah. Have you noticed, I guess as an immigrant, that's maybe, it may or may not be an issue for you when you're starting a business. You have to, raise funds. That means you have to network with people. And sometimes I feel because our network is not wide and our connection is not vast, we end up not getting what we should get. So how do we, expand our network, in order to be able to raise the funds that we need in order to start these companies that we need to build?
Yeah, so just to add one more point to what Astia was alluding earlier, women have to start. There are significant progress, but your question about how do you negotiate is really a good question. The first thing is when you go to get hired by any company, that's the time where you have to start to negotiate what you're worth at. And I'll just give you a quick example. I have about 500 employees in my previous company, hired, all of them pretty much. And our standard policy, in my wildest dream, there is a difference between a woman pay and a man pay, because these are all registered pharmacists, same qualification, same kind of job. But when this story of women are paid 7 cents per dollar kind of conversation was just being predominant, And I called the HR people and said, hey, can you just run a report and show me what's going on? I'm assuming this is not the case with us, but I just want to see how are we doing? And it just happened that is true. The women pharmacists who are actually supervisors were paid lower than their male counterpart for the same work that they do. So to my surprise, I said, so how did this happen? Because this is people we hired. And they said, well, when the ladies come for interview, they just take the salary that we give them. So we say, this is the startup. They say, okay, fine. And the guys will say, no. And they start going back and forth. And then so to begin with, they start from a different base. So, my challenge to the HR team was, you are all ladies here. What are we doing? So that happens. So, I mean, so that it starts from that level of going to the companies and applying for a job. You have to assert and make sure that your interest is protected right at that time. And then going through the process is what, the other things. So regarding network, it is one of the most important attributes that any of us should be able to do. You have to have relationship is very important. It starts from the day you get hired, and then the time you start to connect into these holiday parties and all that stuff, all the way to where you may reach. So developing a network is an effort. It's like building a little town. You have to keep on working on it. You have to participate in organizations. If you are in whatever profession you may be, there are several professional organizations that you want to be part of it. You have to find a place where you belong, and then you have to participate in that organization. You have to network. You have to meet people. You have to keep in touch with them, and so that's important. Honestly, that is something that we have to do. The immigrant community like to keep itself within its community. That's not going to help that much. The mainstream economy is not in the immigrant economy, so we have to develop that culture to integrate ourselves to the bigger. And it's so if you have a product, if you have a quality, if you have a producer, then the networking issue is not that much of an issue, because the other people also want to network with you when they know that you really know what you are doing, you have a purpose, you have a defined goal, and you are going you are a go-getter, then everybody wants to network with you. So that's something that we have to really work on as a community. The first generation, especially the ones who are born here, should have no problem.
Yeah,
they are in a better position than the immediate.
I think that's true. I think it's us who've probably come in at a later age. We have our own set of friends. We have our own little, community within our community, but unless we expand that horizon and include a bunch of other different people, whatever industry organization that is, unless we're active in that, we won't be able to meet other people, right? What are your thoughts about mentorship? I think a lot of people talk about mentorship within a corporate structure. Find a mentor, let that mentor be, someone that helps you. Other people say hire a career coach. What are your thoughts about a mentor? Are you mentor to other people? How do you see that mentor-mentee role?
So at any level of your career, you need mentors.
Yeah.
Mentors can come from inside the organization and outside the organization. So if the organization has an already established mentoring program, that's great, take advantage of it. But mentorship is not always one-on-one, right? So you kind of have to have an expanded group of people that you admire for different things, and just have coffee with them, ask them questions. And sometimes I have a ton of mentors, they don't even know they're mentors. Me.
Oh, really?
They don't even know they're mentoring me. And some of them, they don't know I'm mentoring them, right? Because one of the things I would do would be, let's just go for coffee and have a conversation, and then try to really learn. And mentorship goes both ways. You learn from your mentee, and the mentor learns from you. So, but I would add one more thing. I don't think it's just about mentoring. I think the most critical part is sponsorship, especially in the organization. when your boss and their team goes behind the room, who's going to vouch for you? Who's going to say, she's great, you should hire her, you should promote her, or whatever? Who's going to say that about you? So you should always know who your sponsors are and make sure they know about you. And sometimes you could say, hey, are you willing to advocate for me? We're okay to ask for references, right? We call people and say, hey, can you give me reference? It's the same. So in organization, to call people and say, hey, I'm just looking at this job. Do you think I'm a good fit for it? And they'll tell you if you're a good fit or not. Then if they tell you you're a good fit, they're going to be sponsoring you in that room. So I think sponsorship is really critical in addition to mentorship. But after a while, you also need to invest in yourself. If your company offers you a coaching program, great. If no, hire a coach yourself. I have had many great coaches, and you need it, right? You need somebody who can just tell you the unvarnished truth about your strengths and weaknesses, and your family members are not going to do that. Your friends are not going to do that. Your colleagues are not going to do that. So I would say if you want to invest in yourself, it's great. But mentorship, you have to seek it out. It doesn't always come.
So how do you grow? As you know, certain people would feel like I got a job, I got promoted to a manager, now I'm a middle manager, I'm perfectly okay, this is a good job, I stay there. Or I want to grow, there's more things that I can do within this organization or somewhere else I could go. So for us there, what motivates you, what keeps you going, what inspires you to move up to the next level?
So as an immigrant, I have a seat. And there are many who are crossing a border, in a treacherous situation. There are people in line waiting for the opportunity that I readily got. So I think it's really important that we really use our time and get the most out of that, what we can get, and try to help and inspire the best way we can. I think that really motivates me. My daughter motivates me, inspires me. My husband motivates me, inspires me. But most of all, I want to earn my keep. You're here, just make the most out of it.
Yeah. What motivates you and what inspires you to grow?
Well, one is I kind of get bored when I have to do the same thing again and again.
Okay.
So there is this huge motivation. Okay, so how do I not get bored? And then the other is what is next? What is there to really make a difference in whatever lane I'm in? How can my whole existence be meaningful? And so when you think of that, you get really motivated to say, I think there are so many things, there are so many mishappenings in the world. We are immigrants, we see so many defects in the society we came from. So what is that I have to do? What's my role in this whole equation? So staying in the lane and making sure that you are effective in what you know, and then making sure that you do that more in a most efficient way is what motivates me to just be, keep on going, come up with new models. I mean, you have the most motivating part of life is your family, of course. You have when you see the kids growing and when you see a very supportive wife and a lovely family, saying, hey, go, let's make this happen. That's an encouraging, that plays significant role in getting you motivated to accomplish what you have to do. So those factors put together just, really keeps me going. And they know that I just kind of I'll very quickly be bored if I'm not moving. So,
so they keep pushing you.
They keep pushing.
That's it, Maspen, keep going.
Let's go, that's fine.
I love it.
The roots of your history run deep. You are a vanguard of progressive change, standing on the shoulders of those who came before you. From civil rights to the social justice movements of today, you move the culture forward. You are part of the fabric that makes America, America. At New York Life, we're standing with you. We're doing our parts to impact community investments that help drive change through our commitment to bridge the racial wealth gap. Your local New York Life agent can help you explore ways to establish your family's financial legacy now and for the next generation to come.
Was there someone in particular that would you say, and I'm going to ask it in two different ways. One is personally, who is an inspiration to you, who you look up to, who you say, oh my gosh, this is the person that I emulate. And then is there one in business space?
So my personal space, I would say my mother. My mother passed away 20 years ago. Every day I get inspired and motivated, and I don't think I'm even close to being who she was as an individual. I think she really was amazing in making you feel you're seen and heard and felt, and made you feel you can do anything. And if I could do half of that for my daughter, that would be amazing. My daughter inspires me. So from a personal point of view, those, my family inspires me, so I keep moving. From a business point of view, there are many people who inspire me. I can't tell you it's one, but I love people who are authentic, who really feel very comfortable in the space they occupy, and also deliver for others. I have bosses after bosses who are amazing and inspiring to me. But I also have historical figures who inspire me.
So who?
Churchill inspired me. I know it's not a political, a popular thing to say.
What motivates you about him?
I think his ability to lead during crisis is an amazing, so I study him. I think he's an amazing leader. There are many, and I know he's very controversial. All that aside, I just think he's a great leader. And there are others, right? There are many Ethiopian leaders who inspire me. I think Tedros must have been the most amazing guy. I've never met him.
Yeah.
But trying to, of course. But I think there are many others. I think, Nelson Mandela is the most amazing guy. So I think looking at two historical figures. For example, I think, again, another controversial person, I think Steve Jobs, like a guy who totally transformed the world.
Yeah.
So those kind of people inspiring me.
So are you a biography reader then?
I love biography.
Yeah.
I love biography, absolutely. So in the workplace, I think it's very important to find, for anybody here, to identify a couple of people you want to emulate. Because then there is that drive that you always watch somebody, you learn about what they do and continue to do them.
That's awesome. Mesfin, what inspires you personally and then professionally?
The personal inspiration comes from the fact that, I would have an ability to sort of make a difference in people's, in whatever capacity in people's lives. So whatever that may be, that just continues to inspire me. So what is that personally will inspire me? What are the points the issues that I'm more interested to impact society? So be it an American society, be it, as an immigrant society, be it the disadvantaged at the homeland. So that just gives me an inspiration. What is that has to be done? What is that we have to get engaged to make a difference? Is a personal inspiration. From professional inspirations, I admire people who dare to change the world. I admire people who actually have, the guts to just put everything at a risk because they just believe that what they are doing is going to be for betterment of society, in addition to obviously making themselves. So there are several leaders in business of that kind. So I admire those guys. Every time I feel that, oh, this is tough, then I look at the guys who decided to just create a spaceship and go to the space. I mean, Elon Musk is one that is crazy guy. I mean, so when you think of what he does, you wonder why, what is that you cannot do? So there are many business leaders that I really like to see, that the crazy ones who actually do something happen. So, that those I take those as inspirations in the business world as well.
Of course, yeah. So if you can get out there and do that, I can overcome whatever it is in front of me, right?
Yep.
So what practical advice for someone who's starting out their career? It could be any industry, it could be the arts, it could be, business, it could be healthcare, whatever. Like someone who's starting out their career, what advice would you give them as a business leader?
So I would say be curious. I think sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to narrow down, but when we're coming up, I think it's good to expand. So that's when you will really find passion. I know my daughter generation are very interested in understanding their passion.
Yeah.
And my advice is you just don't find passion. It just doesn't show up. You kind of have to go out and try multiple things and something will show up. So I would say start broader, don't narrow it, because sometimes when you're really focused on a narrow path, you miss out a lot of things around it. So expand it and be curious, and don't obsess over passion. It will come. I mean, like I said, I had to bounce around a few years to figure out that I really like business, but studying science, there is no way I would know business is the place I should be. But, the irony is so many years later, science and business came together.
Yeah.
So it comes together for you, so it doesn't have to be all mapped out, all figured out. Just have a higher vision and just something that you want to aspire, and be flexible on how you get there.
And I think the challenge with this generation that I see through my daughter is, everything should happen today, and nothing happens in a vacuum today. Everything is a process. You're not going to be successful in 2 years. I think it gives, the age of social media. Somebody is on Instagram. My daughter told me like, oh, they are dancing and now they're millionaires. And I'm like, okay, that is 1 in a million. That's not going to be happening to everybody, right? So let's have a game plan in place, because as you work towards your goal, that's where you're going to meet your passion. And I think recently one of my cousins came to me. She's 28, and she's just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I went to college. I'm done. I said, you'll find it. You just keep pursuing, right? There is no end in here, like where you're supposed to get here and find out what you're meant to be, I would imagine, right?
Your passion has to be learning.
Yeah.
I think at that age, it's really about expanding your horizon, the passion about learning. Study people. I think studying people is the best way to learn.
That's true.
Yeah.
I want to open it up for question. Anybody here have a question for our guests before any questions? Don't be shy. Okay, if there are no questions, then I am going to ask, within, one of the questions that I had here, within the organization, what question should people ask in an organization if they're trying to advance to the next level? Let's say, okay, I am an entry-level job, I've been in this job for 5 years, and I need to go to the next level. How do they position themselves to make sure that they're asking the right questions? You mentioned that a little bit earlier, but how do they position themselves?
So I would say first understand the organization's strategy and how they make money. And if you have any idea to help that, that is something you definitely should put forward. And don't worry about hierarchy. Sometimes we worry so much about there is management and there is director and this is this step and this is that step. But instead say, what is the problem I could solve? So I said earlier, in a publicly traded company, anybody should be reading, everybody should be reading the prospectus, the 10Ks, any financial information that's out there. And a lot of our kids could really understand that. You know, when we first came, we had no clue. We wouldn't even know where to look for these things.
Well, it was before internet, so.
Oh, yeah, true. Don't even share our age now.
Yeah.
So, so I would say really understand the business. And so when there is a company meeting and you have an opportunity to be there, don't leave without asking questions. People will always remember the people who ask the questions. So if you're asking a question relating to the company, everybody's going to say, who is that? Who asked that question? That was a really good question. So don't worry about answers, prepare for questions.
What would you add?
That's, just a few things to add is, whatever position you are in, if you are aspiring to go up to the next level, be expressive. Send ideas to your boss. Let your boss know that this is how this thing should change. This is how this should be structured. I think I have an idea. You really have to be visible, very visible, and known that, one, you have ideas. Two, you want to implement some new ideas, and people will say, at the end of the day, companies want a person that actually produces and is willing to take a challenge, willing to get out of their comfort zone. So you will succeed, but you have to push. You have to say, okay, these are the things that I can do, or this is my idea. In addition, and be visible as much as possible, and you will have an opportunity to go up the ladder.
I just want to add one thing. I think when you're asking, how do I get to the next level, I think people should be thinking about 3 levels, 4 levels above, and try to really think about who are those people who are occupying that seat and what were they doing. Again, expand your horizon, because if you're really thinking about the next role, you're not aiming high enough. So it's always good to think about 2, 3 levels above, and then psychologically you feel you're being prepared for the next level. You're not worried whether you're going to be ready to take on the next role. You'll be prepared to take in 3 roles above. So I think it's really important to think 2, 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, and another thing, I think we've mentioned this in the past before, when we say network, it's not just necessarily in the industry. When you're at a family gathering, when you're, at a barbecue, find out who your friend, where they work for. I think for some reason, culturally, we don't really ask where people work for. I don't even know why this is kind of inside of us, but it's always good to ask, what business are you in? Where do you work? Who do you work for? Oh, what role are you in there? My friend is interested in this job. Can you get her in? I think that networking has to happen within our community. And I don't know if we're doing that very well.
Right.
I agree completely. I think it's really important to introduce yourself and then find the person who's quiet in the room and really ask them questions. Most of the time they have the best answers. And also, again, it's really not about telling your story. It's about hearing the other person's story. It's not who you know, it's who knows you, and how did you make them feel.
That's true. I agree. Any final thought?
Well, I mean, one thing I think I would say to all either the immigrant and our immigrant population or the younger ones, they are more capable than almost anybody. I can say that with full confidence in accomplishing whatever they want to accomplish either in the corporate America, in whatever capacity, in the entrepreneurship world, in whatever they want to do. So there has to be that having a confidence in having a belief in yourself that this can be done. For those of us who speak a little differently, actually, that's another qualification. Actually, I make it as that's just a qualification to be successful. For those of you who are born here and who have easily assimilated to the culture, all you need to know is the people that you will be competing against are not as good as you think they are, or actually you are probably...
Always remember that, because you always assume they're better than you, but
no,
they may not be.
Not necessarily. So I would like to encourage everyone that the sky is the limit, and just be focused, have confidence, and go for what you want to do in life, and you'll succeed.
Excellent. Any final thoughts?
I think it's the same. I think if we came here and made it, there is a really good chance our kids will be in a better place.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah, I tell my daughter she's so much more put together at 24 than I ever was.
Well, we didn't know. We didn't even know back then, right? We had no clue. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time. I hope you all benefited from this conversation. I appreciate
you for having us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ዛሬ ፕሮግራማችን በዚህ ላይ ያበቃል። እንግዲህ ጠቃሚ ሐሳቦችን እንዳገኛችሁበት በዲስከሽኑ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። በሚቀጥለው ሳምንት ደግሞ የመጨረሻውን ፓነል ዲስከሽን ይዘንላችሁ እንቀርባለን። እስከዛ ደህና ቆዩ።